Dad didn't say a word. At breakfast, he just smiled a few secret smiles at James across the kitchen table. He just winked a few winks. James had never eaten breakfast so fast in all his life. He never said a word. He was too busy eating. And while he was eating, he was working out what he would need to finish building his snowman. He gobbled down his cereal, gulped down his milk, wolfed down his toast, giving the crust neatly to Birdie under the table, because when Grandma came to stay, she always made him eat his crust, which she didn't like at all. Besides giving them to Birdie, helped him finish up his breakfast even faster. Finish, he said, and he was off. Don't forget to wrap up warm, Grandma said. Your nice green scarf, the one I knitted for you, and your woolly gloves, and make sure you put on your thick socks inside those wellies. And don't forget my old hat is in the shed. Dad called out after him. Got to keep warm out there. James knew well enough he was talking about who the hat was for, and no one else did. He loved having secrets with his dad. He was glad Dad had reminded him about the old hat. He had forgotten all about it. He did put on the green scarf, but he didn't bother with anything else. On his way out, James went to the ladder and found everything he thought he would need for his snowman: a tangerine, some apples, and a handful of those horrible Brussels sprouts that only Grandma liked. Then he picked up a couple of pieces of coal from the tool shed. These were all just perfect for what James had in mind. So his pocket stuffed with fruit and vegetables and coal, James stomped out across the garden, fetched Dad's old hat from the shed, and went out into the field. Birdie ran on ahead of him and was already prowling around the giant snowman, growling. It's all right, Birdie, James told him. He won't hurt you. I know he looks a bit strange at the moment, but you just watch. I'm going to make him the happiest, friendliest snowman ever. Watch. So Birdie sat and watched as James climbed up to the very top of the ladder. He had to so that he could reach. The ladder wobbled a bit, but James didn't mind. He took off his dad's hat and put it on the snowman's head. It fitted perfectly. He had two nice little apples for the ears. They looked just the right ear shape. James pushed them in quite deep so that they stayed there, and then he put the hat down low like his dad did, so you couldn't see them anymore. What that way they could be warm. With those ears, the snowman will be able to understand everything we're saying. But Birdie, you see, said James. By now he could hardly feel his fingers or his feet, but he didn't mind. There was still so much to do. Nose, he told Birdie, taking the tangerine out of his throat and showing him it's got to be an orange nose because orange is my favorite color. He stuck it in as far as he could. Now the snowman had his own bright orange nose, which suited him perfectly. There, that won't fall off, will it? And look, it's a lovely nose. He'll be able to smell of it, won't he? You can't live without a nose, can you, Birdie? Birdie switched his tail in the snow and yawned and licked his lips, which he often did when he agreed. Now he's got to have eyes so he can see us, James said, taking the two pieces of coal out of his pocket. Look, Birdie, he's growing to have black eyes, smiling black eyes. He'll be happy with those, won't he? But the snowman's face didn't look happy. Maybe he's cold, said James. You can't be happy if you're cold, can you, Birdie? He hasn't got many clothes on, has he? And that gave him another brilliant idea. He took off his green scarf, the one Grandma had knitted for him, reached out and tied it around the snowman's neck. He looked a little warmer, perhaps, but he still didn't seem much happier. James got down off the ladder, stood back, and looked at his snowman. Buddy looked up at him too. Dad's old hat was keeping his head warm, and the scarf suited him fine. He looked grand on him, blowing in the wind, but James could now see that the scarf on his own wouldn't keep him really warm. He needs a coat, Birdie, James said, but he's far too big for any coat that we got at home. Even that. I mean, we don't know any giants, do we? But maybe if I gave him a pretend coat so that it looked really real, and he will, and he felt it like it was really real, then maybe that would keep him properly warm and make him happy. What do you think, Birdie? Birdie put his head on his side as if to say, and he thought really well with his eyes. I think a coat is just what that snowman's need, but it must have buttons, so he can do it up. Lots of buttons. You still got Grandma's horrible Brussels sprouts in your pocket, haven't you? They'll do finest buttons. A lot better than eating them, that's for sure. You're a genius dog, Birdie, James said, crouching down to give him a cuddle. Then up the ladder he went again. He took all the Brussels sprouts out of his pocket and starting at the top near the snowman's neck, came slowly down the ladder, giving his snowman Brussels sprout button after Brussels sprout button. Still he had none left. In the end, the snowman's coat had 5 buttons, from top to bottom, all of them as green as Brussels sprouts.